This is
Make It Plain.
Make it plain.
MIP.
With Masamela Matfumo.
Mark Thompson.
Make it plain.
Get woke.
Ladies and gentlemen, back with us. It's been a little while and we've missed him. We're happy to have with us on the show once again the wonderful Sam Smith, the publisher, editor-in-chief of ProRev.com. The news while there's still time to do something about it.
Everybody, it's Sam Smith.
Who I found is Sam Smith. Hello.
Sam Smith, everyone. Sam Smith's album's called In the Lonely Hour. #1 on iTunes.
He is on everybody's one-to-watch list for 2014.
Give it up for Sam Smith.
Sam Smith coming up right after this.
It was a Monday night when you told me it was over, babe.
Sam, how are you, buddy? And happy belated birthday. How are you? How was your birthday?
Birthday was fine. I had my computer repaired and we got our washer and dryer fixed.
You got your computer repaired. Now it seems I need mine repaired. It was working okay this morning and then something happened. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So you got your computer fixed. So you got some home appliance maintenance on your birthday. Folks, I asked Sam what he was going to do for his birthday. And he said when you get to be his age, it's not that big of a deal anymore, right, Sam? Or at least
that's right.
Festivities. The festivities, right? Not as many festivities. Tell everybody how old you are, Sam.
I'm 83.
Okay. 83 years old. Amazing. So I have a bit of a bone to pick with you. You were going to make sure that Susan Collins did not get reelected. You kind of promised me that, Sam.
Well, I know, but I blew it.
What happened?
Well, one of the problems that Sarah Gideon had, her opponent, was she had only moved to Maine, I don't know, about 15 years ago, something like that. And that means you're from away. The old story was that somebody was trying to explain to a Mainer that they really were a Mainer too. And I said, my mother wasn't born here, but I was born here. And the Mainer said, well, you see that oven over there? If that cat went in there and had some babies, you wouldn't call what came out biscuits now, would you? That's sort of the attitude. So I think that may not have helped her as much. And there also was an awful lot of money put into the campaign from outside.
So you think that was it, or is there something else? Are people in Maine just kind of enamored or something with Susan Collins? I don't
think people are enamored. The thing about Maine is that there's a huge difference politically between the interstate and the coastal state.
Okay.
The coastal state is extremely liberal, but once you get inside, it's no longer that way.
So it is the inside. The further you go inside, the more conservative it becomes.
That's right.
Okay.
Although they did elect a Democratic congressman from there, I think that he was aided by the fact that he was a veteran and knew how to, talk inner Maine.
That's interesting. The polls, though, at one time had Sarah Gideon doing pretty well. Now, is she still the speaker?
No, she's no longer the speaker.
No. Okay. She gave that up to run. All right.
Yeah.
Sam, in all of
I
your
apologize. But
thank you. I'm glad finally I get an apology because I didn't know what had happened. In all of your years, we're going on. I mean, we're what 55 years now. Since 56 since 1964, right?
Right.
56 years. In your 56 years as a journalist, have you ever seen anything like what Donald Trump has been doing in terms of not conceding?
No. I think though that this is an awkward time, but I think we're going to make it through it. And it's going to take us a little while to realize that we're no longer in the Trump era.
Mm-hmm. How long is that going to take? I mean, what? Because I mean, he's talking about running again in 4 years. Can we really get out of that era? And it looks like some of these Republicans want to keep it alive.
Well, I wouldn't put any money on him if he was running again. And
Sam,
he
I mean,
runs,
got over 70 million votes.
yeah, but how's he going to build on that base outside of being president? Unless Biden screws up in some big way.
Yeah, I think that I mean you have right-wing media. They're going to continue to promote and push him. He's going to play the victim, and there just seems to be this group of people out here that are going to vote for him and believe no matter, just like the same people that won't wear the masks. I mean, that's his fault.
Yeah, I think though that I think Biden's going to take a different approach, and I think that approach is going to be more favorable to lower and middle class Americans. The one of the problems has been that liberals have come across to many Americans as elitists, and there's no doubt that in terms of, if you just look at one thing, say like the number of graduates of business school and over the past 50 years, it's grown from about 5,000 a year to 140,000. And liberals haven't done much in the way of legislation that have helped the lower classes. And also, labor unions are down by 2/3 their size in the 1960s. All those factors are there, but I think that Biden is more of a person who can be heard across class lines than the typical liberals.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're right, but I think there's just this. Marcos at Daily Coast calls it them hidden deplorables, and those are people that just no matter what are going to vote for Trump, are going to participate in the dishonesty, whatever he says. And the scary part about it is, Sam, is that some of them are even willing to risk their own lives and maybe even die in a pandemic.
Right.
You know?
Right. One of the things I saw the other day, which I found interesting, was back in the 1950s, Elvis Presley got a shot, and he went on television to have the shot for, I think it was flu. And that was considered a big assistance. So, I mean, it's one thing is whether as we move towards people having to get the vaccine, whether people say in show business can be helpful in encouraging people to get it. Am I being too optimistic for you?
I think the difference now is that people are going to be apprehensive. I think there's a lot of fear out here. And I think some people are just going to be apprehensive in the beginning about the shot anyway.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true.
I mean, I think that's only natural. I mean, and the way things have been so rushed, I think people naturally going to wonder, well, is this safe? Is this something I should do? Et cetera, et cetera. I think eventually people will probably warm up to it or feel comfortable with it. I just don't know what that's going to take or how long that's going to take, you know?
Yeah, that's right. But I think I think we're on a new course, and part of the thing that's going to decide this is how much attention the media gives to Trump.
Right. We've agreed that they've given too much over time, haven't they?
Yeah. And we're clearly in a new period, and that should be covered as a new period and not as just something waiting for Trump to run for re-election.
Yeah.
Police officer shot and killed a black woman in her own home.
Incident after incident, year after year.
Say Their Name, a podcast that focuses on the assault and killing of unarmed black people by police and in stand your ground states.
I'm the mother,
Father,
sister,
uncle,
grandmother.
We were best friends.
We are humanizing these headlines, figuring out who these victims really were before the hashtags. Say Their Name. You can listen on the Acast app or wherever you get your podcasts.
If the media covers him as they did in 2015, 2016, and all 4 years of his presidency, then I think we're in trouble.
Could be, yeah.
Because he gets all this free promotion. And you and I have talked about media. You've been in media for years. If it bleeds, it leads. If it's an accident, you know, he is the media is his ambulance chaser, you know?
Right. Well, he came on for 1 minute yesterday. And how many times did you see that shot?
Right. Just for 1 minute.
Right.
He came on for 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, and everybody's just clamoring. How do you think Biden has carried himself throughout this transition process?
I think he's done a pretty good job. I would say this to your progressive listeners is that there's going to be a lot of feeling that Biden isn't progressive enough. And I think that's reasonable. But the important thing to realize is that politicians are not activists, they're reactivists. And that the important thing is to set up the environment in which someone like Biden sees that this is a practical thing to move in this direction. And so that it's going to be what happens outside of politics that is really going to make a difference.
We haven't talked since election night. Was there anything about election night that surprised you or didn't surprise you, Sam?
Well, I slept very well that night.
Even though, I mean, it still wasn't decided that early.
I know, but I had kept a very close track of the polling. While the polling was off in a lot of ways, I could send you my sheet, my last map I did of the where the polling was, and while the numbers weren't accurate, the fact was that if you looked at it just from who was going to get the electoral vote. Can you see that?
Yeah.
That was my map on election night. And
So did you pick Nevada and Arizona?
I had Nevada for the Democrats, and I had Arizona up in the air.
Okay. Okay.
And what I used was the past average of the past three polls.
Okay. Okay. And
which I think is important to do, is to average the polling.
And did you pick Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania?
Yes, they were all good. Ohio was up in the air. North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida were all up in the air.
Okay. So you didn't put Georgia in the loss column. You just said it would be up in the air.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
So I was wrong about Florida and North Carolina. I mean, that wasn't wrong because I said it was up in the air, and it was. But and I had let's see. I'm trying to see how many points I had for him. I had him with 265. How many did he get? 304?
Yeah. I think 306 actually.
306. So that's 35. That's 41 electoral votes difference.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, that's pretty good. What do you think, aside from COVID, obviously, what should be Joe Biden's priorities, do you think?
Well, I think his priority should be dealing with issues that affect the average American. Health care, raising the minimum wage, that sort of issue. And I kind of suspect that's what he was going to do. I have this idea that one of the things that could change the politics in this country would be if Black and Latino leaders would pay more attention to organizing all Americans at the bottom. I think there would be a change in people's views. It's a difficult issue, but in fact, one of the reasons Trump got away with what he did, as I pointed out before, was that union membership had dropped 2/3 in recent decades. And unions are not just organizing tools, they're educational tools. And in my sort of fantasy, you would have Black and Latino leaders becoming leaders in organizing the working class of America, both white, Black, and Latino. But that's just my idea for today.
Yeah, I'm afraid, though. I've been watching the Showtime documentary about the Reagans. I'm afraid, though, that's what happened to unions. Reagan was able to appeal to cultural ideology amongst organized labor, hence Reagan Democrats, hence the decimation of unions. Yeah. So unions should be educating, but one of the things unions have to do is educate people as to the ridiculousness of racism and racial competition, that we're all in this together. So if African Americans and Latinos are at the bottom, there are a lot of white working class folk at the bottom too, but the distraction of racism, vis-a-vis Ronald Reagan, make America great again, vis-a-vis Donald Trump, make America great again, that distraction is able to convince them that they're still better off than the average African American or Latinx. And we've got, Donald Trump has divided the country yet again, Sam, and that's what we have to figure out a way to combat.
Well, Lyndon Johnson pointed that out, in terms that he sort of predicted a Reagan type person, because he said that's what you found. Yeah. You found You found white leaders who made the poor whites think that the problems were due to ethnic minorities, and
Right.
it's been a continuing problem. And if you want to read a really good book on this, Colin Woodard's Union is really a wonderful history of how we didn't put the country together as well as we like to believe we did.
Sure. No, I would agree. And you mentioned the media's coverage of Donald Trump, and how that will continue. Looking at that famous photograph of you playing the drums for Walter Mondale. Sam, you notice how whenever Democrats who run for president lose, they're never heard from again.
Right.
When John McCain lost, remember we talked about this. He was on the Sunday morning talk shows every Sunday, even though he lost. You didn't see Jimmy Carter, Walter Mondale, Michael Dukakis, John. You didn't see those people. If Biden hadn't appointed John Kerry to the cabinet, we wouldn't even know where he is right now. Democrats lose, they are forced to ride off into the sunset of retirement. So I just hope that these mainstream media don't spend all their time trying to continue to magnify Donald Trump.
Yeah, well, I think part of the problem is that the Democratic leadership is more timid than it would be sensibly. I mean, and I think again that Joe Biden is somewhat of an exception on this. And but one of the reasons why you had this effect where the Democrats sort of faded away is because they were scared. And you can't win if you're scared.
Mm. So maybe they do need to listen more to some of the progressives.
Yeah. But I think watching Biden yesterday on MSNBC, I was struck by how different his tone and style was from Trump.
Mm-hmm.
That he was trying to relate to people.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying just to scare them or to bully them into a course of action, but there's a real sense that if he was your grandfather, you'd be quite happy.
Right. No, well, you have to have a contrast. Someone has got to be steady at the helm and show steadiness at the helm. And I think that's what he's trying to do, even though that may not be his nature. But, I've been reading about how much Joe Biden has changed since the death of his son, and how that has even mellowed him out some. So, Sam, before we go, in case the audience doesn't know, the photograph, so folks, as you all know, Sam is songsmith, wordsmith. The performance you were doing with Walter Mondale looking over your shoulder, where was that again? What happened?
That was outside of his house in Washington after the Reagan inauguration. And you can see he's still dressed up. He was a nice guy.
How did you end up performing at his house?
Well, he didn't live that far away from us. It was the same neighborhood. And in fact, I became the head of the Parents Association of a public school in our area. And the hardest thing for me was the fact that Joan Mondale had been head of this Parents Association sometime before me, and I had to live up to that.
So was this the first or the second Reagan inauguration?
I think it was the first one.
Okay. All right. So he was vice president. All right.
Yeah.
Oscar winning, Grammy winning recording artist Sam Smith, world renowned, joining us once again. We miss you, man. We're gonna be in touch. I hope you've enjoyed your birthday.
Oh yeah.
And have many, many more folks. Sam is 83. That's a blessing. And so we honor him and all the work he's done. Again, since I've been a journalist at least since 1964, really before that, because he was doing some journalism while he was in the Coast Guard. Sam's a veteran. So we honor him, and he deserves at this time in his life a better America than Trump has left us. So we'll see if we can get this going. He couldn't get Susan Collins out for us, but we'll absolve him of that. Go and sin no more, my child.
I appreciate that.
At least ain't confession. Love you, Sam. Give Kathy my love.
I sure will. Okay, man. Great.
Sam Smith.
Take care.
Thanks for getting woke and listening to Make It Plain. Please remember to listen, like, subscribe, and wherever you get your podcasts, please give the show a 5-star rating. And please do spread the word. Let's all continue to pray for each other during this pandemic and this police-demic. If all hearts and minds are clear, it has been made plain.